Anton Chekhov was a Russian playwright and short story writer who is considered to be among the best writers of short story fiction in history. His career as a playwright produced four classics, and his best short stories are held in high esteem by writers and critics. The Marriage Proposal was written by him in 1888-1889 and first performed in 1890. The most celebrated period of Russian literature was the 19th century, which produced in a remarkable short period some of the indisputable masterworks of world literature. It has often been noted that the overwhelming majority of Russian works of world significance were produced within the life of one person, Leo Tolstoy. Indeed, many of them were written within 2 decades, the 1860s and 1870s, a period that perhaps never has been surpassed in any culture for sheer concentrated literary brilliance. Why Russian literature is so important? It is important because it's real. Classic Russian writers wrote real stories and stories of values and truths of life and this world. They didn't write silly romance novels or science fiction books to popularize themselves. They wrote long and complex stories for that one person in the whole world who will use up more than the required 1 minute to actually look at the content of the book and not just the name or the cover page. Russian folks know that when they read a book by a Russian author, it won't concentrate on the look and feel of the book, but rather the book itself. It will concentrate on the character rather than the place he or she is in. Yes, we have seen, right? The whole lesson dwell about the three characters. Okay, let's have a look at the fine details of the lesson about Russia. The word peasants. The term peasants usually refer to people who lived and worked in rural areas. But in Russia, it also described a legal category, which even appeared on individuals' passport. Russian peasants could live in urban areas, making their living as workers or traders and serve in the military. So, who is a peasant? Is he same like a farmer, or is there any difference? Let's hop into it. Peasants, serfs and farmers. Peasants were the poorest people in the medieval era and lived primarily in the country or small villages. Serfs were the poorest of the peasant classes and were a type of slave. Lords owned the serfs who lived on their lands. In exchange for a place to live, serfs worked the land to grow crops for themselves and their lord. In addition, serfs were expected to work the farms for the lord and pay rent. Every day, peasants could be educated and marry if they could afford it. Serfs, however, could do neither and were not permitted to relocate without the lord's approval. Farmers were a bit better off than peasants, as some owned their own farms and most worked the farmlands themselves or with the aid of peasants and serfs. And that's all about peasants, serfs and farmers. Now, let's get into the main point of the story, the marriage. Let me get into innumerable customs that are followed. Throughout history, people of all cultures have created an innumerable amount of different customs. These customs have gradually developed into traditions and some even into official holidays, and celebrating them is an important part of preserving the world's cultural heritage. Yes, from the birth of a child to death, there are a number of customs followed. For example, birth of a child, naming ceremony, tonsures, birthdays, marriage, housewarming, etc. Not only these, we also have religious festivals, national festivals, harvest festivals, and so forth and so forth. Yes, now let's have a look into our family. Ask your father and mother about the customs followed in their family before they got married. Is it same or different? Or are they following the same now, or they are trying to make a new one following both? Okay, let's move on to conflicts. A serious disagreement or argument, typically a protracted one, the main part of the story. Okay. Sometimes we judge people and judge situations just by looking at them from distance without knowing any details of the happenings. Yes, sometimes even when two close friends meet, they hit each other to say hi. On the other hand, we can see in certain places people will have a very normal face but they will be fighting. For example, especially when a foreigner visits a place, definitely they will get confused sometimes between a fight and a normal conversation if they don't know the language. So it's better to don't judge anyone and anything until and otherwise you know everything about them. Last but not least, let's look into the title of the story, Proposal. Let's explore the word proposal. It's a noun. Let me take you from known to unknown. We have seen from the lesson that proposal means an offer of marriage, where Lomo came to Natalia's house for marriage proposal. Okay, let's move a bit and see the other meanings for the word proposal. Have you all heard these words? A budget proposal, a spending proposal, a merger proposal, a project proposal, a tax proposal, making a proposal, put forward a proposal, submit a proposal, approve a proposal, consider a proposal, reject a proposal. Oh my god, that's a lot, right? A proposal is a plan or an idea, often a formal or written one, which is suggested for people to think about and decide upon. To tell in detail something which is proposed or offered for consideration or acceptance. A scheme or design, the term or conditions proposed, the document on which such a thing is written. For example, the president is to put forward new proposals for resolving the country's constitutional crisis. Congress rejected the latest economic proposal put forward by the president. The planners rejected the initial proposal over concerns about the trees. Words can do magic. Explore the thesaurus words for the word proposal: proffer, overture, and tender. Now, it's time for the follow-up activity. Draft a proposal to the government against the EIA 2020 Act. Okay, so let me tell you how to write a proposal. Start with a firm introduction. This should start out with a hook. Ideally, you want your readers to enrapture your point from your point one. Make your proposal as purposeful and useful as possible. State the problem. After the introduction, you will get into the body, the meat of your work. Here is where you should state your problem. If your readers don't know much about the circumstance, fill them in. Okay? So think of this as the state of affairs sections of your proposal. What is the problem? What is causing the problem? What effects does the problem will have? So emphasize why the problem needs to be solved and needs to be solved now. How will it affect your audience if it is left alone? Make sure you answer all these questions and cover with the research and facts. Use credible sources liberally. Propose solutions. This arguably the most important part of your proposal. The solution section is where you get into how you will address the problem. Why will you do it in this way and what outcomes will be? Include a schedule and budget. Your proposal represents an investment. In order to convince your readers that you are a good investment, provide as much as details, concrete information about your timeline and budgets as possible. Wrap up with a conclusion. This should mirror your introduction, succinctly wrapping up your general message. If there are consequences to your proposal not being undertaken, address them here. Summarize the benefits of your proposal and drive home that the benefits outweigh the cost. Leave your audience thinking ahead. And always, as always, thank them for their consideration and time. Edit your work. Be meticulous in writing, editing, and designing the proposal. Revise as necessary to make it clear and concise. Ask others to critique and edit it. And make sure the presentation is attractive and engaging as well as organized and helpful. Proofread your work. Editing focuses on getting the content as clear and concise as you can make it. Proofreading makes sure that your content is free of mistakes. Go over your proposal carefully to catch any spelling and grammar or punctuation errors. Hope you all enjoyed the story proposal in different perspective. Thank you.